Good evening.
Welcome to a video on how to get good at Doomfist, perhaps the hero with more one-shot potential than the number of viewers on a Mixer stream. Let's get started. Before we start, I would like to clarify that my Doomfist skills aren't exactly the best, so the gameplay footage may be slightly below par. However, let us consider this as a learning experience together. Doomfist is an EPS hero, whose kit primarily revolves around beating the shit out of people with your massive ass gauntlet. Though before we get into the juicy things, let us take a look at his primary fire, which consists of a rapid fire shotgun that can deal up to 66 damage per shot if you manage to hit all of the pellets. The shotgun also comes with a noticeably tight spread, allowing you to much more confidently take on ranged gunfights with it, or at least you would be able to if this thing's projectile velocity wasn't so fucking slow, making it the most unreliable thing ever. Despite it being like this, however, it reloads automatically, and you get 4 rounds, so generally speaking, this thing is best used as a finisher for if some degenerate shit happens to have survived something that they were not supposed to have. Now onto his gauntlet, which has 3 abilities dedicated to it, starting with the most iconic of the 3, being the rocket punch. The rocket punch is what many would consider to be the primary method of scoring eliminations and getting your job done. The rocket punch can take up to 1.5 seconds to charge, of which it can deal more damage depending on how much it was charged up for, allowing it to deal up to 100 damage on impact, which whilst it doesn't sound like much, this is only half of the story. For you see, the impact will also knock the degenerate shit away, and if the piece of man meat known as an enemy just so happens to hit a wall, then they will take additional damage depending on how much the fist was charged. It is because of this that a single full charge punch can one-shot most characters in this game, save for any tank, or if it happens to be Bastion, meaning that this ability allows you to very easily end a fight just as fast as it started and with bare minimal effort as well, depending on the charge level. Doomfist can also use this as a way to get around the map, as not only does it cover a lot of ground, but the cooldown is only 4 seconds, so you might as well make the trip back from spawn less boring. The next ability, involving his metallic fist, is his uppercut, which not only allows him to reach higher places with a single button press, but can also be used to damage and displace enemies, sending them flying into the air, as well as briefly locking them in place from moving around, allowing you to easily capitalize on the now vulnerable idiot in front of you by either shooting at them with your shotgun or fisting them to death. The uppercut also does 50 damage, allowing you to use it as a finisher as well, for if you simply cannot be asked about aiming at all. This ability can also be comboed with his next ability, his seismic slam. This wrestler style move causes Doomfist to fly towards a specific location that is often marked on the ground by a blow triangle, and slam the ground upon reaching said destination, dealing damage and pulling the enemies close towards him, allowing him to set up future combos. The damage dealt by this move depends on how far Doomfist travels, scaling from a minimum of 25
Good evening.
up to a maximum of 125 glorious damage, which if you manage to hit them with the maximum, then you can rest assured that their death will most likely follow in the next second or so. Before we get into his ultimate, Doomfist has a passive ability that grants him temporary shields upon dealing damage with his gauntlet. Each enemy that Doomfist manages to hurt will grant him 30 temporary shields, which can stack up to 150 temporary shields, granting him 400 health maximum. This grants him a form of self-sustain, allowing him to take on fights that most of degenerates would lose, not only allowing you to go almost completely reckless into the enemy team, but to also put less stress on your supports, as they can focus on their Reinhardt, who's busy chugging down 59 gallons of beer a minute. Now, onto his ultimate. Doomfist's ultimate causes him to jump into the fucking stratosphere and flying in the sky for the next 4 seconds, moving at double the movement speed. During this time, Doomfist takes control of a giant ass targeting reticle that you can't move around. The 2 circles represent the amount of damage the ultimate will do, depending on where they are in the circle. If an enemy is within the first circle, then they can take up to 200 damage. If however, any part of their body is touching the inner ring, Then they will take a full 300 fucking damage, allowing you to very easily either use this shit to dive bomb some unfortunate widow who's been killing you the entire game, or to use this shit as an escape tool and retreat back to your team. Doomfist generally operates best in close quarters, meaning that characters like Widow, Ash, or McCree can very easily take him down with very little fucking effort. Doomfist also suffers greatly for if you happen to be against the Mexican taco munching hacker who will cause your damage capabilities to plummet faster than the fucking Titanic. Thanks to this guide, you will now be able to fist people harder than your spouse at 3 AM and very easily cheese one-on-one fights with a single button press. Be sure to come back for the Echo Get Good next week. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more shit like this. Have fun.